right. Bon dia, buenos dias, and good morning, React Miami. You really can't see anybody up here, dang. All right, let's get started. My name is Greg Barbosa. I'm a Director of Innovation and Systems at Avalux. We sell clinically proven lenses that precisely filter light for people who have light sensitivity migraines. For my role specifically, I look at different opportunities and possibilities we have in the business to grow and scale on the small team that we have and really help people that are suffering from migraines day to day. But before I dive in, I want to go ahead and explicitly thank G2I, Gabe, and Michelle for what they're doing in the South Florida tech community and for building up this place in the way that they have. Really, if you guys see them, give them a pat on the back, congratulate them, thank them. South Florida is becoming the tech community it deserves because of people like them. All right, so the talk today, now what? Monetizing your React skills. This is a question I get a lot, or I see a lot from people who are new in the development community because they kind of get trapped into this thing of learning new languages, tutorial hell, new frameworks, new skills. I got invited to the first React Miami a few years ago, and I was blown away about how excited people were for the conference. But I was also blown away by how many people were saying that they were struggling to break in, that they didn't know how to get their foot in the door. And what blew me away was that they were there at React Miami. They broke in, and they were still asking that question. And a little bit of me felt a little hurt because I'm I've been there, I know what that's like. How can I help people in my unique ways that I've been through that experience? And I realized it was a lot of mix of imposter syndrome, self-doubt, and really just not knowing what kinds of opportunities exist out there. Everybody that's presented today and yesterday has done some incredible stuff getting deep into the tech and talking about the different things you can actually do with it. But I want to talk a little bit more about what you can do with those skills in the real world, helping people out and finding kind of your own niche in that space. But my developer journey was never linear. My thing is kind of a mess. It's almost my special interest is skill acquisition. I just like learning as much as possible and then applying it to the next thing. So my resume right now, I'm a Director of Innovation and Systems. We talked about the D2C, CRO, Shopify. I was helping baby boomers before that. Product Manager, iOS QA Test Engineer, Data Engineer, Apple Store. Chick-fil-A should be on there. There's a bunch of different things I've done. But the number one thing that's not on my resume, I was never a developer, ever. And that leads to a lot of my imposter syndrome. Being on this stage right now, I've got imposter syndrome. But people have been kind of giving me some kudos beforehand and helping out, so that helps out a lot. But the thing really is that even though I'm not heads down in React day to day, I've gotten really good at learning these skills and applying them and figuring out where to apply them. So I want to share that with everybody else here today. Ooh, I have a little bit less time than I thought, so let's fly through this. All right, like the panel talked about yesterday, oh, actually, let me go one more. There you go. Like the panel talked about yesterday, development in the web is democratized in more ways than one. Anybody can build, anybody can put something out there and find an audience for themselves. I built my first website when I was 10 years old, and that was that aha moment of I don't have to wait for adults to tell me what I can or can't do. I can just do it. And the best part is the 90% of the adults didn't even know what I was doing on the internet, but I was building cool shit, and I was excited for it. Don't know if I was supposed to curse. I'm sorry about that. Okay, so the thing I really want to get into is kind of highlighting different paths and directions that you can go to when you're getting into React, really any development skill that you're trying to apply. But the most important thing is that it has to be for you. So we'll talk about the basic stuff like traditional employment. We'll go ahead and go through freelancing, consulting, contracting, niche products, and SaaS. And my favorite area is community. Here's the thing. Even though I'm specifically saying monetizing your skills, all these things I want you to learn today or get an eye on is that you don't have to always be worried about monetizing every single thing that you do. Sometimes just learning and applying and putting it out into the world is more than good enough and helps your neighbor in a way that maybe they don't even fully realize. So there's one question, though. At the end of the day, you're always going to have to answer when you're trying to figure out what to do next with these skills. And it's really, is there a market for the solution I'm willing and able to provide? And I'm very clear on that because I ran an agency for a while and I realized how horrendous it was to be working on contracts and projects that weren't really things I wanted to do. I was getting paid well, I was moving the needle, I was applying my skills, but I did not like doing it. What I realized and what I wish more people told me earlier on is that you don't have to do this forever. Whatever path, whatever opportunity you take, you're allowed to switch it up. There are no rules here. So I want to start with the first one, the basic one everybody here probably knows, traditional employment, AKA a job. Jobs are great. They provide stability, benefits. They create a space where you can learn and grow and actively apply your skills. But sometimes finding a job is hard. I know React is exploding as far as the job market. That's one of the beauties of React. But the interview process can still be hard. Finding where you actually want to have a work company culture fit, that can be hard. But Actually, the other thing, when so many places use titles and roles on resumes to filter people out, people who don't kind of present the best resume out there can sometimes get filtered out unjustly in a way that isn't always fair to them. It's why I brought up and showed my resume. I've never been a developer on my resume, and every time I used to go into interviews where I had to go for like a developer role, that's the first thing that they would call out. And the moment that they wouldn't ask me further what I was doing in the day job, how I was applying my developer skills, I realized they really more cared about the presentation of the title than what the day-to-day role and what I was actually accomplishing at the company was. But let's come back to traditional employment. We'll talk about that later. Here's the main one. This is my bread and butter: freelancing, consulting, contracting. This is an easy way to start learning something new and applying it out there immediately. The best part about freelancing and consulting is a very quick way to get a temperature check on the industry and figure out, are people willing to pay you for the thing that you're willing to do? In my case, while I was employed, whenever I was employed and I was learning any new development stack, any new workflows, anything, I would literally hop online and just try to figure out where can I find people that are asking for that exact skills. Basically to validate, am I going the direction I want, and are there people that want me to do that for them? Sorry. So it's always the question, but how do you actually get started in consulting, contracting, and freelancing? I'm gonna say job boards. I know people hate Upwork, I know people hate Fiverr. I'm not saying use those tools, but what I am saying is it's a phenomenal platform to figure out where people are going to ask for things and how much they're willing to pay for those jobs. Before I started my agency, I had my developer skills, I knew what I wanted to do, I knew where I wanted to work, but I couldn't really find anybody in South Florida that was willing to pay for it. And for a while, I started spiraling out into self-doubt, am I doing something that people even care about? So when I hopped on Upwork, I started just searching for all the keywords I could think of and try to figure out, does anybody actually care about what I'm doing, and will they benefit from it? I got really sad because I didn't find anything that made sense. People wanted the world, but didn't want to pay for it. And that kind of left me dejected. So I just set up some keyword alerts, moved on with my life, and started stressing out about something else, about the next thing I have to figure out. But a few days later, what I realized was I started getting these alerts where people were asking for what they considered complicated HTML, CSS, JavaScript implementations that they had no idea how to do. But for me, it would be a couple clicks and a few minutes of work. And what I started to do is dive into these relationships, and I started to learn more and more that there are people out there that are willing to pay you for things that isn't sexy. It's not something you're gonna put on social media and people are gonna love you for and give you a million likes, but it's something that moves the needle in somebody's business and truly helps them in a way that they never would have been able to do without you. So freelancing, consulting, contracting, that is a huge opportunity for people to look at and explore when you're just trying something out. There's plenty of times where I learned something new and realized I don't actually want to do this after I worked with 2 clients and I realized this is not my space. This is a great place to just dive in and learn. But really with every relationship I had built out, I started to push myself to adapt and learn new developer skills, even though I wasn't always working in exactly what I wanted to do. So I started building out my own project management systems, my own design systems, learning better developer practices. I started rolling out my own code snippets that I could reuse in different complicated scenarios, my own testing patterns. And all the while, I still wasn't a developer. I was just a web support guy for all these people. But I would always take these skills and apply it to the next relationship, and find along the way what I wanted to do. But this also ended up leaving me or directing me into a market and a whole opportunity I never knew existed, and that was niche products and SaaS. I'm actually constantly still blown away by how many code snippets people can kind of compartmentalize, templatize, and sell, and it really helps people out. Because for me, when I first saw the fact that you can buy premium React components, my immediate thought was why would I ever do that? I could just write them myself. I can just build the whole system myself. But there are people out there that need these things that you're willing and able to provide and build quickly that will move the needle and help them in their business a lot faster than they could ever do, again, without you. And one of the comments I want to make, especially because social media and X, Twitter, whatever, it's been blowing up like SaaS. Everybody's trying to do SaaS, and with LLMs and AI, it's so much easier to build your business. SaaS is hard. SaaS is a phenomenal thing to dive into, but SaaS is hard. Don't get discouraged, don't feel beat down, but take your time, work on it, and find where the community that aligns with what you're building is. Theo of T3 said a few days ago that when he started building things for himself that he thought was cool, he ended up finding the people that also wanted it. Go after that. Start with what you know, find what you can build, and find people that align with that. Find your tribe. But then again, but how? And that's where I started talking about start with what you know. If you know how to work in this area, work in these components, build these types of things. Start there, don't stress out, don't think you have to learn the entire world before you get started making this money or finding people that want to work with you. Depending on your contracts, and like for the love of God, check your contracts. You can often take your code and components and reuse it and resell it down the line, templatize it, whatever. In my case, I was working with a Shopify client who had a unique problem that they wanted to create dynamic content for the Shopify blog. And I scoured the internet to find a way to build this dynamic content area that could build out like a call to action to increase conversion rates. But nobody was really talking about it because some developers don't think Shopify is a real platform. They don't want to code for it. It's not that big of a thing. I realized with some of my skills, I could go ahead and create a dynamic solution that worked out of the box very quickly for them. It was a fun little side project. I made some good money. And at the end of it, I realized, this is something I could compartmentalize and sell. Like I could create a little YouTube video, talk to people about it, and put it out there. So I cleaned the code up. I put it in like a little internal Git repo I have. I shared it with the people that I wanted to share it with. And then I just kind of forgot about it because I was busy with a bunch of other stuff anyways, like life always is. And 3 weeks later, another client asked for the same exact thing. And they had no idea I had worked on it. They had no idea I was already thinking about how to work on it or anything else I was working on. And I let them know, like, hey, I can take care of it, not a problem. I already had my code. I already had it ready to go. I just picked it up, optimized a little bit for them, adapted it for their needs, and launched. Now the next step with this little thing I built that was very easy for me, but for them, it increased their conversion rates significantly. They made thousands of dollars more, but for me, it took me a couple hours, and it was incredible for me. So now the next step there is like, I'm gonna componentize this, sell it, and see if I can find a community out there as well for it. But the main point of that little example is that we can validate the things that we're doing and the relationships we're building with these contracting and these consulting relationships and these clients. If you're working on an open source thing, or if you're working through some code snippets and trying to figure your way out through it, and if it's something you want to do, put it out into the world, share it with people, talk to people about it. The thing that you think is boring and not cool is probably something that somebody else is really excited to see. Like all this stuff about the monetization, it will lead to money in some way or another, but the only way to really get out there is to keep talking about it and keep moving forward. It's hard, but you gotta keep doing it. And honestly, sometimes when you can't figure out what the market wants, or you just need a break from the grind of whatever new drama with whatever framework or tailwind or whatever people are complaining about, you can start to turn to your community. And this is really the area where I can kind of talk about the most and the area I love the most. I think this is why I'm so excited about React Miami. Why I'm so excited about React Miami, because it is a place where it brings a community together. Like, people are from all over the world here. We have, 40 states, 100 different countries or something represented. Like, I met somebody, Yusra from Egypt is here. Like, everybody from all over the world is here because they care about one thing, and that's React and the developer community here. And for me, it's not really a direct way to monetize your skills. Oh, real quick, I know the emoji are hugging, but you don't have to hug everybody you know if you don't want to. Don't. You can stay away from that. But I really think of the developer community in two key areas. I think of it in code, and then I think of it in people. And I really like the panel they had yesterday about the open source community, because what they were able to build is phenomenal, and it literally changed the world. But for the code portion, I really like diving into the open source community, an open source apps community, and seeing how people are responding to different code changes. I was telling somebody the other day, I like to start my morning on GitHub and looking at the commit and change log for repos I've starred. Even though it's not always language or stuff that I'm working with, I like seeing and understanding how people are thinking of approaching different problems. And I love going into the issues tab on GitHub and seeing how people are talking about this stuff. You start to find some of the smartest people you've never heard of just hidden away on GitHub, working together to build this really cool open source app. And really, it's incredible how many open source apps out there nowadays have their own community with Twitter, Reddit, Discord, and really whatever else makes sense to them. My new little thing I like doing is jumping into a new Discord community for an open source app and just getting a vibe checked on who the people that are developing the app are. You'd be surprised to find some of your best friends are probably hidden online somewhere where you've never even seen them before. And a lot of that was people, but it's really the code too. But I also want to talk about people, and I mean really meeting people in real life, and that's what the React Miami thing here is talking to people, surrounding yourself with people you've never met, surrounding yourself with people that you'd love to get to know better. I've been really lucky that this week I got to meet Keegan. I think some of you saw his demo last night at Hack Night. He's building a really cool, yeah, give him a round of applause. He built something really cool. Thank you. For those that don't know, Keegan is building a party platform for game developers to hop on. If any of you have played Jackbox games and have seen everybody has to pay $60 for one game when you're really only playing Fibbage or one or two other games, He's developing a platform where people can go ahead and make these games for parties and have everybody hop on with just their phones. It's a phenomenal idea, but I never heard of that. And I love that he's building something like that. And I love that there's a community here where people are able to do that. And that's the thing that I want to talk about here, because it's like surrounding yourself with people that are working on cool things is a great way to learn and recharge yourself. The amount of different conversations I've had here this week that have like fired me up in a new way that I haven't felt in a while. I am going through some of the worst burnout I've gone in my entire life, and I'm so ready to like sleep for 6 days. But every time I talk to somebody else, I'm like more amped up to keep doing what I'm doing. And I know I need to take a break, and I will. Developer health is incredibly important. But I'm so grateful that we have this here, and I think that's something I really want more people in this community to get after, is to find these relationships and build them up, because development can be really, really isolating. You don't have to work in a box all the time. It's really tough sometimes to be building something and not realizing that other people might want it. So share it, get out there, and talk to people. And really the beauty of the 21st century is that we're no longer bound by physical distance. Like, I know we talk about the internet a lot, but really some of my best friends I've met today are people I met through Reddit and Twitter. So it's a really fun like first date conversation with my fiance when she was like, "Where are all your friends from?" And I'm like, "Oh, I met them online." I'm like, that's where they're at now. Mark might be here, but like I literally met Mark for the second time ever in my life at this conference, and we've been internet friends for God knows how many years. And this community is what helped make it possible. And I want people to explore more of that, because you start to talk and understand and learn from one another. What are you working on? What are you doing? What do you want to do next? How can I support and help you? When people are building cool things, hype them up, support them, and send opportunities their way. When I was doing my contract work stuff, the amount of times I would get a client or a project that I knew was both outside my wheelhouse or just like not something I wanted to do, I could find the right person to send work their way. It's not a direct way to monetize the skills, but it's a way to constantly have something happening and guiding yourself towards the next thing that you want to do in this world. And really, at the end of the day, this all just circles right back to traditional employment, because what I wish I kind of showed on the resume slide too is all the different skills I was building up along the way with these jobs. And so often I would say, I don't want to get a job right now, I just want to do freelancing, I'll stop for a while. But every time I'd go into the next role, I had like a little mini portfolio of skills that I could share with somebody. I made this comment a few months ago at another talk I gave. I haven't put out a resume in like 10 years for any job ever. Because every time I'd want to go into another job, I'd find the people at the company I'm working with, or I'd find people in the community, and we'd have these conversations to understand, what am I doing, what am I looking for, and is there a fit where they're at? I fully understand and appreciate the interview process. I think what G2I is doing is very interesting and very creative for the whole process, but also that's not the only way you have to go through this stuff. The community can really be the gateway to the next thing that you're looking to build. Yeah, and I think the main thing I want to get at is just like your path is not linear, and it doesn't have to be linear. And I had a friend that really felt like he wasn't a real developer because he was a junior and he knew the next step was senior, but after that he didn't know what he was going to do next, and he was kind of in this weird space. And I was talking to him about how you can reach out to the community, start contributing, start building the things that you want to build and finding the people that you want to work with. But at the end of the day, you can always just go back to employment. You can always go back to freelancing and consulting. You can always go back to just putting little code snippets together and selling it to an audience that's asking for it. You can have a job, you can build products on the side, quit the job, start freelancing, start an open source app, get a job because of that app, and maybe along the way you can like create a world-changing JavaScript library. But either way, it's your journey and it's your choice. I know the talk is about monetization, but really there are no rules to any of this. The path you take today is not the one you need to be on tomorrow, and you don't have to do it forever. And really the moment you realize that like the direction you want to go is the best one to serve you, just pivot and do it. Get after it. I'm going to finish a little bit early here, but I think it all comes back again to like the now what. We've taken a look at a few different paths you can take. We talked about employment, we talked about consulting. If you're looking for something you can do today, I'm going to take something from like old school church stuff. Say hi to the person behind you or in front of you and ask them what brought them to React Miami today. I'm an introvert by nature, but I know an opportunity like this is phenomenal to be surrounded by some of the smartest developers and most curious and driven people I've ever met in my life. And these conversations I'm having are absolutely getting me fired up again. If you want to start today to figure out what the next thing you're doing, just shake somebody's hand and talk to them. Openly and honestly learn about the cool things that they're doing. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to launch like the next great SaaS app or get the job you've always wanted, but it does mean you get to take one more step on your personal developer journey to monetizing your skills, but more importantly, building the life that you deserve. Thank you. I'm Greg Barbosa. I just want to give one final thank you again for everybody who was here at my talk. I'm honored to be here. I'm honored that you're here. Thank you for being here. Keep showing up for everybody else, and I hope you guys have a good rest of the week.